Welcome to Dodgers Daily. I'm Casey Porter. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in. Hey, there's an old saying in baseball that you're either humble or you're about to be humbled. And after a Thursday that saw everybody except for Rancho Cucamonga in the organization win, it was a Friday that was the exact opposite. Everybody lost except for Tulsa. Tulsa, it was exciting. It was a sold-out crowd at OneOk in front of over 8,000 people. The Dodgers' number one prospect, Diegocartaya, wins on a walk-off sac fly there in downtown Tulsa at beautiful OneOk. But hey, yesterday, disappointing day. Not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to get right to it. The Dodgers lost 13-0. That old day game after the night game thing. You know, when you have that exciting night game, then you have to turn around and play that day game the next day. That's always tough. It's a quick turnaround. You have to sleep fast, and a lot of times, you know, it's hard to get a whole bunch of energy and adrenaline built back up for that next day game after that night game, and the Dodgers just simply couldn't do it. Just one hit. It was a pitiful performance. Let me say that correctly. It was a pitiful performance. I don't think there's any way to sugarcoat it or get around that. I think everybody in the organization would agree with that, and it is a performance that is just, it's not acceptable for, you know, the Dodgers culture. It's not acceptable for anything that the Dodgers stand for. But again, it is baseball. It's 162, and you have to move on. And the only thing you can do at this point is figure out how to make sure, you can't make sure it doesn't happen again because it's baseball, and sometimes you just have clunkers. You know, Mama said there'd be days like this, that old saying. But you do your best to make sure that you at least, you know, do your best to make sure it doesn't happen again as far as, you know, doing your best towards that. You can't guarantee it won't, but you can do your best to put yourself in a position to make sure that doesn't happen again. So, hey, a lot to chew on in the organization. We have a busy show today. But before we get to all that, just a reminder, if you'd like to help Dodgers Daily grow by donating, you can follow the link in the description now. It is right there. All you got to do is click it. It takes you right to where you can donate, and you can help Dodgers Daily in that way. Also, if you like this video and if you like this kind of content, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, become a subscriber, and after you subscribe, click that notification bell. That way, every time Dodgers Daily release a new video, you'll be notified, and we can keep growing, and we can keep doing what we love, which is providing content and videos like this in the future and talking about the Dodgers and giving everybody, you know, sometimes like today, a platform to vent. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to vent today. I'm pretty frustrated, pretty disappointed in the outing yesterday, and you know, just kind of wanting to chew on. And probably this video more than anything, I'm putting this together to make myself feel better. You know, I say a lot of times in coaching, I'm not big on post-game talks because at that moment you can't do anything about it. I'm bigger on, hey, let's go ahead and sleep on it. Let's think in the morning. Let's take a good night's rest, and then let's wake up in the morning and then see how we feel then. And then if we need to talk, let's talk the next day, right before we can actually go out on the field and do something about it then. So, you know, hey, it's the next morning, and so this is probably going to be a video that makes me feel better about things because the frustration is mounting. You're under 500 again. You got one hit. It didn't look like there was a whole lot of life to it. So there is a lot to chew on as far as the Dodgers go. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's talk Dodgers baseball. So the Dodgers got beat 13-0, as we mentioned just a minute ago. Only one hit, and that was in the 8th inning by David Peralta on basically, you know, just a cue shot that was basically a swinging bunt. So just absolutely zero offense. I've talked a couple of times about this team being the whack-a-mole type team where it seems like whenever you get things fixed, like the other night, you got, you know, the bullpen fixed. They didn't give up any runs. And then the next day, a guy like Julio Urias, who has been so fantastic for so long, then he leaks out like he did yesterday. Then all of a sudden the offense, you know, it shuts down and doesn't score. So, you know, yesterday as far as the whack-a-mole go, the whack-a-mole taking turns as far as, you know, the leakiness to this team that's leading to a sub-500 record. Yesterday it was Julio Urias, and then obviously the offense. So those two aspects of it took their turn yesterday. Okay, so here is my first question as we get into our conversation about the Dodgers. And leave a comment on this. Let me know what you think. Whose team is this? Okay, you know, I'm a big advocate of if you don't have a team that is led by the players, you're not going to have a great team. If your manager is constantly having to give pep talks, if he's constantly having to be a cheerleader to give the players on the team energy, that's not going to be a championship caliber team. Teams that are championship caliber, the best teams, their leaders, the guys that drive the ship, are the players. So let me ask you again, who leads this team? Is this Dave Roberts' team? Is it one of the players' teams? If it is one of the players' teams, okay, who is it? Is it Freddie Freeman's team? Is it Mookie Betts' team? Who is the guy that everybody says, hey, man, we got to get behind you and we just got to get to work and let's you be a leader and let me follow? And who's the guy that's going to lead, from the front and get everybody together and get everything going in the right direction? And here's, as far as leadership goes, the thing about it, and it's interesting because, like I said, the Dodgers are underperforming. I think that's a fair comment to make. I don't think that's negative. I think that's fair. And my philosophy on leadership that I've always, conveyed to people, hey, it's easy to be a leader when you're winning. Everybody wants to follow the guy that hit the walk-off home run. Everybody wants to follow the guy that's 4 for 4. Everyone wants to follow the guy who hasn't given up a run all year. It's easy to follow success. You're not going to know if you're a true leader until you see how people follow after you fail, and especially after an extended period of time of failing. That's when you'll know if you're a true leader or not, is if after you fail, after an extended period of time of failure, do people still follow you with the same kind of conviction as they do when you succeed? So do we have that guy on this team that, hey, the team, it's struggling a touch, but even though you're struggling and the success doesn't look like the way you want it, do you still follow the same way? Who is that guy? So like I said, who does this team belong to? Does it belong to the players? If it does, which player is it? Which player is that guy that can struggle for a couple of weeks but still be that guy that leads the ship in the right direction and is that leader that people follow and follow whether they're successful and 4 for 4 or not successful as far as results go and 0 for 4? Who is that guy? Is it, Dave Roberts is a player type manager, so hey, that's great for it's kind of like the Dodgers offense. The player type manager thing is great. I don't mean that. I love players, managers, and I think Dave Roberts does a fantastic job. But the thing is, that's great for 162 because it creates a warm environment that players want to be in. Players want to show up. They enjoy the clubhouse aspect of it. And over the long haul of 6 months and 162, that environment works, okay? But there are short bursts in the season to where, you're struggling a little bit. And, it's kind of like everything else. You don't have to be a player's manager 24 hours a day. I think there are periods of time in a season where maybe a manager needs to step out of the box a little bit, out of the player's manager type box a little bit, and become, a little bit of, hey guys, this isn't acceptable. We're the Dodgers. We wear one of the most iconic brands in the world, most recognizable brands. We have fans all over the world, and what's happening on the field right now isn't acceptable, even if it does hurt some feelings. I think there are times, strategic times, not very many, because if you do the same thing over and over, it becomes ineffective, whether it be yelling or whether it be sweet, nice, and all that. If you use the same motivations to fire people up with, if you use the same motivational tactics every single time, eventually people become callous to them. So you got to mix it up. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Hey, the players coach great. It's great. And I love that aspect of Dave Roberts. I know the players do love it, but I think there are times where you got to step out of that box. And sometimes you got to challenge people. You got to be that manager that, hey, maybe you get underneath somebody's saddle a little bit and you light a fire in them. You got to be that guy too. And I'm sure he does. I'm sure he's great at that as well. But I think the Dodgers need somebody like that. Like, hey, this is great that we're getting all along together. I assume they are. This is great that the clubhouse culture is good. But, hey, results matter. And this is one of those moments in the Dodgers season and really in Dodgers history where at this point you got to look at it and say, hey, results matter. So what do we need to do to improve the results? And if that means ruffling some feathers, fine. I'm not saying it does. Nobody knows the clubhouse. Nobody knows the organization better than Dave Roberts. Nobody knows, as far as the front office goes. So I'm not saying, exactly to do that. I'm just saying I think there are some times, even though being a player's manager absolutely works, it's led to a million different victories for the Dodgers. And I know it makes the players play better. In the long run, I do think there are times where maybe you got to step out of that and maybe ruffle some feathers to light some fires to get things reignited and headed in the right direction. So, hey, leave a comment. Tell me, who do you think, whose team is this right now? Whose team is this? Is it a player's team? If so, if it is a player's team, then which player is it? If it's not, then Dave Roberts, intelligent comments like we always do, not the, hey, he sucks or she sucks or any of that. The level-headed, hey, like I always say, if you don't have a solution, then don't complain. I say that all the time, and I think the Dodgers are in that situation right now. Okay. So the day game after a night game thing, is that something you're willing to accept? As far as, I know a lot of veterans I've talked to in the past, some professional baseball players that were either in coaching or had been removed themselves from the game of baseball because they were at a point in their life to where they're ready to do something else. They've told me on a couple of occasions that they're veterans in the past. I don't have any specifics, but that would actually write into their contract that a day game after a night game, they would have the day off because, especially when you hit that walk-off, not a walk-off, but you hit the home run in the ninth inning by James Outman, you have all the excitement, you have all the adrenaline, probably don't get to sleep till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you have to wake up and play a day game the next day. It's tough to get that adrenaline back. It's tough to, you wake up after all that excitement, you almost feel hungover, and it's like it takes you a minute just to get going the next day. So that day game after a night game, I will say this, it is a factor. It is tough. That's a fact. But is that a big enough factor for you to accept as an excuse for the one-hit 13-0 loss yesterday? Leave a comment on that. What do you think about the day game after a night game factor? Again, as always, constructive comments that we accept here at Dodgers Daily, and the constructive and comments that we enjoy. Okay, so the offense. I don't think anybody should be surprised at this point that the offense is a little bit helter-skelter and that at times it just simply hasn't been good. 8 hitters in the lineup yesterday were hitting .238 or less. That's 8, okay, that actually hit in the lineup at some point in the game yesterday. 8 less than .238. 4 hitters that hit at some point yesterday in the lineup. 4 hitters are hitting 200 or less, and 2 hitters are hitting 100 or less. Okay, so this shouldn't come as a surprise that this Dodgers offense is going to struggle from time to time. All you got to do is look at the numbers and look at the offensive backgrounds of the players that are in the lineup to realize, hey, this isn't a lineup that's constructed of guys that have been elite offensive players, at least at the bottom of the lineup. Obviously, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and, those guys that are in the lineup every day, they are elite baseball players, no doubt about it. But when you look at the bottom of your lineup, when you look at guys like Trayce Thompson, Austin Wynns, Luke Williams, David Peralta has been a good offensive player in his career, no doubt about it. Okay, but he's hit .251 and .259 in the last 2 years. Okay, J.D. Martinez has been a great offensive player. I think it's a consensus that we all enjoyed the fact that the Dodgers picked him up. But he's hitting .247 this year, OPS 798, okay? And then Miguel Rojas, another guy, he's not playing right now, but, .259 lifetime hitter. So the guys you picked up in the offseason, other than J.D. Martinez, and then last year you picked up Trayce Thompson, and then, Austin Wynns, you just recently acquired him. But let's say the guys in the last couple of years you picked up from a position player perspective, Trayce Thompson, Austin Wynns, Luke Williams, Jason Hayward, David Peralta, J.D. Martinez, Miguel Rojas, all those guys. Okay, other than J.D. Martinez and maybe from time to time David Peralta, although he hasn't been great the last 2 years, you didn't pick up guys that have a track record of great offensive baseball. Trayce Thompson, career lifetime average .220. Austin Wynns, 100. Luke Williams, .234. Okay, Miguel Rojas, .259. David Peralta, like I said, lifetime average of .281, so he has been a good hitter as far as his major league career. But the last 2 years, he's hit .251 and .259. So why is anybody surprised that, hey, basically after about the 4th spot in your lineup, unless you hit some home runs, unless a guy runs into a ball, that you're struggling to consistently score runs? Why is that a surprise when you look at the guys that are in the lineup? Now, here's what's happened, in my opinion, okay? You lose Gavin Lux, who was going to be a big part of your offense, maybe even your leadoff hitter. That was a huge loss. I think Dodgers fans are realizing, for all the criticism that Gavin Lux has taken over the years, I think they're realizing that this club is missing Gavin Lux pretty bad at this point. And the other factor, there's kind of the domino effect to that. If Gavin Lux is your everyday shortstop, then Miguel Rojas is probably not injured at this point, and he's been able to spot people at different positions. And if he's not playing every day, he probably hits a little bit better because he gets put into better strategic type matchups whenever he actually does play. And so I think you probably have a better offensive Miguel Rojas. He's probably still healthy at this point. And then obviously you're missing Will Smith as well, who is a big catalyst to the middle of this offense, because Will Smith, it's not just that he's a good offensive player, it's the type of offensive player he is. You know, he grinds pitch counts, he frustrates pitchers, he gets that pitch count elevated for the other team, and he's a very good hitter, and he can also be dynamic in the sense that he has good speed, so he can hit for doubles and singles, he can hit behind runners, he can hit sac flies, and then we obviously know he can hit home runs as well. So no doubt about it, this club is missing Will Smith in the middle of that lineup, and they're missing Gavin Lux at the top of it. Now, Will Smith, you hope to get back. Gavin Lux, obviously you don't. So I talk about the process all the time. I think if you're in the war room, you have to think, okay, we're severely missing Gavin Lux. His type of offense, the type of offense he would have provided. Okay, so moving forward, what do we need to do to try to fill all of those holes in? Because what we've done so far hasn't worked yet. So you can take a couple of stances to say, hey, it hasn't worked yet, but it's baseball, so let's play the marathon out. I think in the long run it will work out. You can take that stance, or you can say, hey, it hasn't worked out yet. So at this point, I think we're starting to get, enough at bats to see kind of the personality of this team. So we need to at least start thinking of the type of people that are out there in the trade market that we might be able to bring in that would fill in some of the voids that Gavin Lux has left behind. So those are some of the thoughts there as far as, I talk about every day in that war room when you talk about, okay, the state of the Dodgers, where are we at? The first thing you start with is, hey, how do we put our team today in the best situation to win today's game? And then you move on from there to talk about the overall long run of things as far as, hey, where are we at as far as player personnel? What are our weaknesses? What are the holes as far as, the roster we have right now? And how do we fill that? And by the way, of all the guys that I mentioned in yesterday's video, as far as the veterans that were at Oklahoma City that you could bring up to replace that fifth spot, the guy they brought up, I didn't even mention, is Jake Reed. So, and that surprises me because I've never seen Jake Reed in anything other than a relief role, which is why I did not include him, because, I've never seen him in anything other than a reliever. I would assume if he does get a start, the Dodgers will call that an open, where the difference between open and a start is a starter pitches, and they pitch as long as they can until the manager feels like, hey, they're no longer effective, or, hey, they've kind of run out of gas. An opener is set to pitch only 1 or 2 innings. A reliever is going to pitch that 1 or 2 innings. It doesn't matter if it's at the end of the game, middle of the game, or the beginning of the game. It's the same 1 to 2 innings. And the Dodgers have started throwing those guys at the front of those games and called them openers. They do a lot in the minor leagues. So I would imagine if Jake Reed gets, it starts the beginning of a game, it will be an opener setting, but we'll see. So, yeah, Jake Reed is the guy that got brought up to, as far as that fifth spot goes. So there you go. Okay, there are my thoughts on the Dodgers yesterday. Frustrating day, no doubt about it. So, hey, what do you think? Where are you at with it? Again, constructive comments. No, I don't, the hey, he sucks or the knee-jerk type of stuff, I'm not real big on. So what are your constructive thoughts as far as where the Dodgers are at right now? The performance yesterday, no doubt about it, it was pitiful. There's no way to get around that. Well, leave a thought, leave a comment down in the comment section, and let's talk Dodgers baseball. So, hey, that is, that's our talk on the Dodgers today. So now it's time to turn our focus to the minor leagues, where the only team in the as far as the affiliates that won last night was Tulsa, and they won on a walk-off by the Dodgers' number 1 prospect, Diegocartaya. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to it, and let's take a trip down on the farm. Well, I mentioned yesterday that, hey, with that 5 spot, of course, I just mentioned also that Jake Reed got brought up for that 5 spot in the rotation. But, hey, eyes are still all on, hey, who are the possibilities for that spot? Again, Jake Reed has been mostly a reliever at Oklahoma City. So, hey, eyes on dylancovey, who got the start last night for AAA Oklahoma City. He's one of those guys that has a lot of major league experience. He went 5 innings last night. He gave up just 1 run, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts. Don't let me get that wrong. He had 5 strikeouts, no walks. His ERA on the year is 5.0. So dylancovey, with a lot of major league experience, eyes on him, as well as all of those major league experience veterans on the AAA Oklahoma City roster. Didn't take michaelbusch long to extend his hit streak to 6 games. He's now hit safely in 14 out of 15 and 17 of 19 games this year. This is Albuquerque, New Mexico, a beautiful new state. I think it's about 4 or 5 years old there in Albuquerque. I'm not exactly sure how old that stadium is, but it is absolutely gorgeous there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Okay, Michaelbusch hit his 7th double of the year that you're seeing here. That's 4th best in the PCL. Last year, he hit 32 doubles to go with all the home runs he hit as well. He was absolutely a great slugger last year. You know, he's not necessarily a slugger. He's a guy that likes to hit line drives. He just likes to hit the ball hard, and sometimes the ball gets up in the air and goes over the fence. I'll tell you what, man, he hits the ball absolutely hard. So lots of doubles. Last year he hit 32 doubles, which was 3rd best in the PCL. So far this year he's already hit 7, which is 4th best. He has a couple of home runs. Again, his average is up there around, I think, like 336, something like that, and his OPS numbers are fantastic again. So Michaelbusch continues to rake for AAA Oklahoma City. The wind was blowing straight in at Albuquerque. You know, that high altitude, guys love to play in that because the ball carries. But hey, when that wind blows straight in, that's a little bit of a neutralizing factor. And you're going to see here in a minute, if we can get to it, Jamai Jones just absolutely crushed the ball to dead center, and it was headed for the trees, but the wind caught it and held it up, and so he had to settle for a double. I'll see if I like that, using the big part of the field. Here it is, Jamai Jones, again, straight up the gut. Looked like it was going to be an easy home run. All of a sudden, the wind blows. It goes off the wall. You have to settle for a double. So Jamai Jones using the big part of the field for AAA Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City last night, again, did not win their game. They lost this game 4-3. We talked about dylancovey, who started that game. So it was a low-scoring game, mainly because the wind was blowing in. Again, AAA Dodgers lose 4-3 to Albuquerque. The AA Tulsa Drillers may be the most talented team in all minor leagues. They are the only team in the system to win yesterday. They won 6-5 on a walk-off that we're going to see here in a minute. Sacrifice flyer by the Dodgers' #1 prospect, Diegocartaya. Tulsa scored 1 in the first, 1 in the third, 2 in the sixth, and they scored 1 run in both the 8th and the 9th inning to pull out a victory. Actually, we're losing 5-4 going into the 8th inning and scored 2 runs. There was some good bullpen work that we're going to see here that allowed Tulsa to get back in the game. Who you're seeing right here is Johnny DeLuca, who for the 2nd game in a row led the game off first at bat of the game with a home run. He had 3 hits last night as well. He had 2 more hits to add to this home run. He also stole a base, and he scored 2 runs. So I've talked about how, just dynamic Johnny DeLuca is, how he can beat an offense. You get a good look at him right there. How he can beat an offense in every which way. You got to see an example of that last night. Jorbit Vivas extended his hit streak to 14 games with his double that you're seeing on your screen. That encompasses the last game of last year and every game this year. So Jorbit Vivas has a hit in every game this year. He's hitting .377. His OPS is 1101, and he has an on-base percentage of .459. So the young man who was on the 40-man roster, mainly played second base last year, has played more third base this year. It's not supposed to be this easy to hit AA pitching. You have guys that are major league talent type arms that are, throwing mid-90s, 95, 96, sometimes upwards to 100 with really good off-speed stuff. Hitting AA pitching is not supposed to be this easy, but so far for Jorbit Vivas on the young season, .377, he's making it look easy. Josh Stowers hit his first home run of 2023. He's a young man who has major league experience as well. And he's having a very good year for AA Tulsa. He's hitting .324, 839 OPS, and he has 6 hits in 6 of his last 9 games. So Josh Stowers, if you remember, he got off to a very fast start. I know he's a well-liked young man in the organization that just picked him up just a while ago. Very talented young man to add to the talent pool on the AA Tulsa Drillers roster. So Josh Stowers, hey, congratulations on your first home run of 2023. I'll make a prediction, it will not be his last. Look at that crowd at OneOk in Tulsa. It was a sellout crowd last night. I believe I heard the play-by-play voice of the AA Tulsa Drillers, Dennis Higgins. He just does such a wonderful job. He is just absolutely audio gold. I believe he said it was the biggest crowd in Tulsa since 2018. And I think that year, that was when Tulsa was in the playoffs. Look at that great crowd. That is just such an awesome facility. It wasn't just the stands that were full. Look at all the berms and, all the walkways and everything. Look at that's a hill out there. That's actually grass out there beyond right field. Just completely full. It was a fantastic environment. a fantastic Friday night in Drillville in T-Town. And Imanolvargas had 2 more hits. I've been telling Dodgers fans, hey, don't be a slave to those prospects lists. There's so many guys like Imanolvargas that are so good offensively. They're such good baseball players that, hey, follow along, because this guy is really, really good. He had 2 more hits yesterday, including the home run you saw, which was his 3rd of the year. That home run tied the game, kind of got Tulsa back into the game, got the crowd going. Okay, and Tulsa eventually won 6-5. Imanolvargas is hitting .345 on the year. His OPS is .1272. And once again, he is showing those who pay attention to the Dodgers minor league system how good of an offensive player he is. I think as the year goes on, that's Jose Ramos right there that you're looking at. Right there, Jose. And there's Henny, the mayor of Drillville, the manager of the AA Tulsa Drillers, Scott Hennessy. I think Dodgers fans, if they continue to pay attention, they're going to catch on to this guy, Imanolvargas. Riverryan got the start yesterday for Tulsa, and he had his big 4-seam, his circle change, his slider, and his curveball on display. This young man, again, that the Dodgers got from the Padres for Matt Beatty in that trade, if you remember. He had 5 strikeouts, Riverryan did yesterday in 2 innings, and he gave up just 1 run, so another good outing for Riverryan. Ryan's ERA on the year is just 1.93, so this guy has been absolutely dominant for AA Tulsa. Riverryan, what a pickup he was, at UNC Pembroke. He was a really good 2-way player, and even with the Padres, he still hit with them while he was still with them. The Dodgers saw more in the right arm and what kind of pitcher he could become, so they made him a pitcher only, which is what he is right now with AA Tulsa. So here we are, Riverryan with that big right arm and the good 4 pitches. Look at that little cutter slider type pitch. So Riverryan, one of the very talented power arms in the Dodgers system. Talk about a power arm with big size. Cole Percival has hit 99 in the past. I've made the prediction. I think he's going to hit 100 at some point this year. It's all about keeping the ball in the strike zone for him. He has the 5 pitches. Look at that changeup, great pitch right there, and the confidence. He is must-watch TV. That slider, look at that's a really good pitch, but it's not a strike. That's kind of what I'm talking about. And then you have that arm side run to it. So Cole Percival, 5 pitches. He has all the stuff. He has the extension. He has the bloodlines, obviously. There's a lot to like about Cole Percival, except for the fact that sometimes he doesn't always throw enough strikes, and that's whenever he gets into trouble and he starts giving up runs. So, hey, Cole Percival, still in AA Tulsa, but you talk about a guy with a huge ceiling, that would be Cole. And, he's very fun to watch. He's very energetic. He's very versatile. He has the 5 pitches, and I know he could be a starter, and he would enjoy that, but then also he's very competitive. And if you put him in high-leverage situations towards the end of games, he can take that big fastball, max it out, and get up to, look at that huge crowd at Tulsa. Wonderful crowd last night. I love Cole Percival. He has great mannerisms. He just has so much fun playing the game of baseball and pitching. But if you put him in high-leverage situations, he doesn't have to economize, and therefore his fastball is up around 100 miles an hour. So you can go any which way with Cole Percival. The last couple years he's been in the pen. Love that changeup. And so, hey, his average against, just to kind of go show how good his stuff actually is, his average against is just 0.77, and his whip is just 1.00. So that just goes to show you he's very, very, very difficult to hit. Keep the ball in the strike zone, and the ERA will look right exactly where you want it to be towards the end of the season. So welcome to AA, welcome to Tulsa, Ryan Sublette, and welcome back to 2023. This was a lot of firsts for him. His first outing of the year, his first outing in AA. This was his debut, and he had a lot of energy, and this young man, that side slot, the thing I really, really, really like about him, obviously he's very competitive. That's number one. He's that real quiet confidence, if you will. He's not brash. He's not a rah-rah type guy. He's kind of a michaelbusch type mentality where he just gets his work done, but he is one of the most competitive. Although he's not a rah-rah guy, you talk about competitive. I got to see him at Texas Tech. Wow, and the thing I really like about him, he's able to get that side slot, but although he's side slot right there, kind of a three-quarter slot a little bit, he's still able to stay on top of the ball, so he gets the best of all worlds. A lot of those three-quarter slot guys, they actually get on the side of it, which gives them kind of a frisbee-type slider. but it doesn't give them any vert to it. It's hard for them to use the top and bottom of the zone or get any depth to their pitches. So Ryan Sublette's able to give that side slot, kind of that three-quarter slot, which makes it uncomfortable for a hitter, but he's also able to get depth on his slider because he's able to stay on top of the ball. So, you know, as you're watching these pitches, watch the three-quarter slot there. And the next pitch, what I want you to see is his hand actually stays behind the ball, and therefore he's able to actually straighten the ball out with that four seam and get the good spin rate and get, you know, that riding action that allows him to get the riding action, because right there, that pitch right there, because he's able to stay behind the ball, you know, and he's not cutting the side of it, so he gets that good riding action, but yet also whenever he does that as well, he's able to get depth on that slider and at the three-quarter slot, which makes him uncomfortable to hit. So this guy, I'm telling you, another one of those guys, don't be a slave to prospects list. I can tell you, I saw him all the way back to Texas Tech with my own eyes. He is so good, and he's so competitive. I love watching Ryan Sublette pitch. Every time I see that he's going to pitch in a game, I automatically tune it in and watch, because I just love watching all the different elements that he brings. Again, Ryan Sublette. This is Jordanleasure that you're looking at. You talk about one of the nicest, hardest working men in the process, or in the system, I should say. Talk about the daily process. His is absolutely elite. He went to the University of Tampa. Just talk to anybody who was around him while he was at the University of Tampa, and you'll know everything you know about him. Another guy that, hey, like I always say, don't be a slave to the top 30 prospects, because this guy's 97. He has the extension. Look at the depth on his slider, and he's known to go on heaters, meaning he's known to go a bunch of performances in a row without giving up runs. And I'll tell you what, he has the perfect closer's mentality, because just, you know, pressure doesn't bother him. He's just so cool under fire. He keeps his composure so well. In a good outing last night for AA Tulsa, he kept Wichita scoreless in the top of the ninth, which was huge. He stabilized that top of the ninth, kept Wichita scoreless. There's Nick Prado right there. He seems like he's been at Wichita forever, the hitter in your scene, which meant the game was tied going into the bottom for Diegocartaya, who you're seeing there at catcher, to hit the sacrifice fly for the walk-off win in Drillville in front of a sold-out crowd. Like I said, the Dennis Higgins, the play-by-play voice of the Drillers, I believe said was the largest crowd in Tulsa since 2018. So I've been talking about this walk-off sac fly by the Dodgers' #1 prospect, Diegocartaya, seeming like this entire show. Well, here it is. Right there, there's the sac fly. Johnny DeLuca tags up, and he scores, and look at that team camaraderie. So excited, and just an electric atmosphere at OneOk. It was almost like a football game. You know, those fans in Tulsa, I can tell you, I've been there many. There's Nick Grasso there on the left. I've been there many different times. It is one of the best baseball environments I have ever seen. There's Kyle Hurt, you saw right in front of your screen. Alec Gamboa. There's Cody Hosey. Good look at him, and there's a good look at Diegocartaya, the Dodgers' #1 prospect. What an atmosphere in Drillville last night. Diegocartaya with the walk-off. The Loons got off to a very slow start offensively yesterday. They did not score until the 7th inning. They scored a single run, then they scored 2 in the 8th. One of them on this home run right here by Damon Keith scored those 2 runs, and that brought the game to within a 1-run game. But then the Loons gave up 3 in the top of the 9th and eventually lost 7-3. You are seeing Damon Keith right here, who, like I said, great young man, great hitter, a great offensive tool out of Cal Baptist. Just a fantastic young offensive player. One of the most California-looking dudes I've ever seen, with that long, kind of that sandy blonde hair that's waving in the wind. And boy, when he hits one, it absolutely stays hit. I love the hit tool of this young man, Damon Keith. This was his 3rd home run of the year, and as you can see, it was a total bomb. And like I said, this brought the Loons within 1 run in the game that eventually they lost yesterday. This extended Damon Keith's hit streak to 5 games, a streak that has seen 2 home runs in the last 5 games and 14 total bases. So as the weather warms up, so does Damon Keith. The Dodgers' number 15 prospect, Yasiel Fernandez, is off to a great start, as you can see here on your video. He had another multi-hit game, which is his 2nd in a row. So he's had multi-hits in 2 games in a row, and he's 5 for his last 7. He's hitting .317. Look how flat that swing is. As you watch him, a lot of guys have hands that travel flat, but then, like Mike Trout, they have a very negative bat angle, meaning the barrel is below the hands. He's flat in two different ways. His hands travel flat and the barrel travels flat, which means he's going to be a very, very good east to west hitter. He's going to be able to cover the outside part of the plate very well with that flat barrel right there. Look how flat that is. That outside part of the plate's not going to be a problem with him when you swing flat like that. Neither will the inside part, because that's a very east-west type swing. So, and then whenever the pitch is low, then you just take that top hand and you turn that barrel to make a more negative bat angle to match the plane of the pitch. And he is very good at that as well, which is why the Dodgers are so high on his offensive hit tool, because he can be flat on the right pitches, and then he can turn that barrel on the pitches that he needs to, which is why, one of the reasons why he is such a good hitter. So, hey, keep up the great work, Yasiel Fernandez, the Dodgers' number 15 prospect. It was a good day for Central Michigan alum Griffin Lockwood. No, it wasn't a good day. It was a great day for him. You talk about a hard worker. He's a young man. Like I said, he's used to the cold. So on those mid-50s days with a little bit of a breeze, he's in short sleeves, like you see right there, where everybody else, like the shortstop, is absolutely, and the pitcher is everybody else is absolutely bundled up. No problem for the Central Michigan alum Griffin Lockwood, better known as Lock in the system. Very hard worker and known to take extra BP any day and every day. Doesn't matter what the elements are. Hey, let's go out and let's work on our game. And again, a big guy that loves to use the middle of the field and hit the ball oppo. I love those guys. I talk about them all the time. Brandon Lewis is another guy at the AA level that, yes, he can hit a lot of home runs. He's a big guy. He has a lot of power, but he can also stay inside of baseball with 2 strikes and shoot it the other way. Stay up the middle with it, hit it to the biggest part of the field. So there's a good look at Griffin Lockwood, Really good outing for Orlando Ortiz that you're seeing on your screen here. He gave up just 1 run. He struck out 2. And check out the run to the arm side. I really, long, and then there's that little cutter type pitch. But the next time, I'll point it out the next time he throws one. The run to the arm side that he can get every now and then kind of gives him that right turn on his fastball. And you saw the cut on his slider. There's a little bit of cut to that, kind of a cutter-looking pitch right there that turns left. So he gives the hitter, there's that turn left to the slider. He gives the hitter 2 different turns towards the end, and there's that 4-seam that he can flatten out at the top of the zone to get that good ride factor. There's the run on that fastball right there. Great run, that kind of that right turn in on a righty. There's a good little change-up. So you've seen the changeup, you've seen the fastball right in on a right-hander, you've seen the 4-seam up in the zone with the good ride, and you've seen the cutter and the slider pitches that turn left. So there is the mix for Orlando Ortiz. It is very good, and because of that, he had a good outing yesterday. Went 4 innings. He gave up just 1 run. Like I said, he struck out 2. So there you have it. There's our show for you today. I told you at the top that the first segment was probably going to be, for me more than anything, just to release a little bit of frustration. Again, the Dodgers fall below 500. The 1 hit, the 13-0 win. It was frustrating, but again, hey, one of the great things about baseball, of course, there's so many of them. You could talk all day about why baseball is so great, but one of the things that makes baseball so great is that you get to strap it up and you get to do it again tomorrow. Something, actually it would be today as you're watching this video, something that the Dodgers get to do. If it's football, you'd have to sit on it for 6 days, and that eats at you pretty good. But hey, it's baseball. You get to go out there, you get to clear your memories, you get to start a whole new day with fresh grass. The next day is something the Dodgers are going to do today with the Cubs. So, hey, I hope you enjoyed our show. But before we get out of here, just one more reminder that, hey, we do have the ability now to help Dodgers Daily by donating. The link is in the description. So go to the description, look at that link, follow that link, and if you'd like to, help Dodgers Daily by donating. Also, hey, if you like this video and if you like this kind of content, go ahead and click that like button, leave a comment, tell all your friends about Dodgers Daily, and become a subscriber. After you subscribe, click that notification bell. That way, every time Dodgers Daily releases a new video, you will be notified. You won't miss a thing. Dodgers Daily can keep growing, and we can keep doing what we love to do, which is providing videos like this. As always, I'd like to say thank you for tuning in, and go Dodgers!